Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the August 16th, 2021 Special Council meeting to order and begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Kaitsi, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Masqui First Nations. I'm Mayor Val Vandenbroek, and with me today I have Councillor Paul Albrecht, Councillor Terry James, Councillor Nathan Bahal, Councillor Rudy Storteboom, and Councillor Rosemary Wallace. And for staff, we have Francis Chung, the Chief Administrative Officer, Darren Lane, our Director of Corporate Services, Kelly Kenny, our Corporate Officer, and Hirod Gill, who is our, Manager of Engineering Services, and Beckett Seller, our is it Chief of HR? I don't even know what your official title is.
Human Resources Manager of HR.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, so for any members of the public who are in attendance to watch these proceedings, welcome. And just a reminder that to keep your mics and your cameras off while you are in attendance. So we need adoption of the August 16th, 2021 special agenda be adopted as circulated. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Wallace, Councillor Storteboom, all those in favor? That carries. All right, we have an administrative report and award of tender T 2021-017 208 Street Cycling Improvements. Mr. Gill, I understand you have a short PowerPoint presentation, so I'll pass it over to you.
Sure. Good morning, Madam Mayor and the member of council. Please allow me to share my screen. Okay, do you see the slide, the PowerPoint? Yes? Do you see my PowerPoint slide?
Yes, it's up.
Oh, sorry, okay.
No, that's okay.
I'm not sure why. On my screen, it looks weird, but anyway, I continue. This project is to develop a multi-use path by widening the sidewalk along 208th Street from 52A Avenue to Fraser Highway. And to accomplish this, we had to have some modifications on the bridge. We also added street lighting. We modified the traffic signals over there. And we needed also to have culvert extension underneath the bridge. Not underneath the road, in order to accommodate the required right-of-way and all of these additions that we needed for this project. After receiving the tender, the total cost of this project will be $1,364,000. That includes the construction cost and the cost of hiring a certified contract administrator, the MMCD certified contract administrator. The project was designed by city's consulting engineer, and the same consultant will play a role as a contract administrator and also the inspector and environmental inspector as required by MMCD. The tendering process ended on August 10th. And its company, the number company is 644230BC Ltd, was the lowest bidder, and their price was $1.265 million. We had a more generous kind of budget allocated for that. So as a result, it turned out to have a contingency for about over $800,000, which can cover any unforeseeable kind of situations or costs. Not that we expect something, but anyway, it is at our hand to do that. The project includes, as I mentioned, a multi-use path in here, and we're going to have a culvert extension here because when the right-of-way is a little increasing, As a result, your culvert needs to be longer. And we are adding some tree planting along the project, and some changes, like I said, on the bridge. Basically, it is removing the median that is there and use that space to widen the sidewalk and make it a mop. So this is basically what this, and also another thing that's on the side we added to this project was just a new entrance to pump station, and which actually replaces that old bridge over there that we have. It's going to stay there as a pedestrian, but trucks for maintenance can easily merge in, get inside this, do whatever they need, turn around inside and come back to 08th Street. Here it shows the typical cross section for that project. As you see in here, we are going to keep where the curb is, which is in here. And the sidewalk is relatively in good shape, so we're not going to change it. We're adding this mop to this. And like I said, adding some trees along both sides of the project. And yeah, basically this is the 2 lanes and median in some places. If there are some questions, I would be happy to answer. This is it, that's my presentation.
Great, thank you. I just have a quick question about the lights. Is it going to be turning lanes for all 4 crossroads at that intersection now?
Yeah, the light, they are designed, there are some standards that they follow that, which will illuminate the entire road if this is what you need, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Sorry, let me just see who's first here. Councillor Storteboom, then Martin, and then that's it.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Gill, for your presentation. I know that this is a roadway that staff have been looking at updating for a while. I do have a couple of questions about some of the components in that. There is a crosswalk along 208, and I believe it's before 52nd, that does not have signal light. And there are other crosswalks on 208 that do have pedestrian signal lights. And I was wondering if we're going to be updating that crosswalk for public safety's sake.
52 is outside the domain of this project.
Okay. Okay, well, it's something to consider in the future. That's okay.
I'll write it down, sure. I will look at it.
Thank you very much. I'm also interested in knowing about that culvert or cul-de-sac or whatever it is that is being used to accommodate the flow of water. Is that big enough for a trail extension? Are we doing a trail extension? Because we have a wonderful trail that runs right through our city. And I believe that it could go all the way to the ABSL, which is actually the township, but it's free for city residents. So it's a bonus. Is there any consideration to enhancing that trailway system to continue on?
The trail, again, was not in the domain of the scope of the work. That area that the culvert over there is not, we are not touching anything, so it stays as it is. A little bit north to that, the culvert, however, needs to, another culvert we have needs to be extended, as I mentioned. But in that area, no, we're not doing major changes. There are only some widening. We try to minimize this because it's an environmentally sensitive area and that reach. And as you actually widen it further beyond a certain limit, then there will be some environmental issues, which makes the, first of all, the approval process from the Ministry of the Flanro RD much more complicated. We try to avoid those things as much as we can. And however, we still expect a little bit of compensation requirement for disturbing on the edge, the environmental sensitive areas, which we are prepared to compensate for that by adding trees or whatever it means that the Flannery is going to require. But again, we didn't change anything for this project specifically to avoid any environmental concerns or compensation requirements.
Okay, so if you don't mind following up, staff did investigate the possibility of extending that trail. And in your estimation, it was problematic and it was going to be costly and hampering to the environment. Is that what you're saying?
For this project, we can, as a separate project, we can for sure look into that. If there is a plan to do this, I'm not aware of that. I can double check. But when the time comes and then we decide to go ahead with modify those areas, we have to look into a wider kind of project time schedule, because the approval process is going to be different, much more cumbersome. And then we have to prepare ourselves for that. For this particular project, because the idea was just to add bike lanes, and we had some grants with a solid deadline. We tried not to touch anything else in order to make everything straightforward and as short as possible, the approving process as short as possible.
Okay, it's just that, we are looking at that stretch of roadway now, and I just thought it might be worth considering that an extension of that trail would be worthwhile, but you're suggesting that that may still be available at some point in the future.
Yes, I will look into this. I mean, maybe in the next council meeting, either myself or when our director comes back, we're gonna bring back to you with an update on whether a plan is already there or we're gonna have that plan to extend it. At this point, I'm not aware of any plan.
Very good, thank you. You're very generous. Those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm concerned or confused about a couple of things. I mean, the title of this report is Street Cycling Improvements for the 208th Street. And it seems to me that the cycling lanes are sort of secondary to what's taking place. Maybe we put that in to get the funding from TransLink. I don't know, but to go out and say that we're basically spending over $2 million, even if we get the grant from TransLink on a bike lane, seems sort of, well, it's not really what's happening. I guess the other thing that I'm confused or concerned about is the contingency. I thought contingencies were around 20% of the budget. And we're looking at, as far as our cost goes, over half of the amount in a contingency. Now, I know you said that, you have sort of an extra money for the contingency, but why $857,000? I mean, when the project is only costing us $1,265.
Sure. With regards to your first point, bike, including bike lane, is the main objective of this project. I'm not sure. Maybe I misspoke. I don't know how. I mean, I gave that impression, but it is. Bike lane is the main objective of this project. As with the contingency, it was not set after the contract award. You estimate that the project is going to cost you so much, and you allocate some budget and you apply for grants if they are available. With that in mind, that this is going to cost you, let's say, $2 million. When you go for a bid, then the lowest bid, maybe less, maybe some examples even higher than what you thought. In this case, it was lower than what we thought, which actually we welcome that, of course. When this happens, then the contingency that you have, or you thought you have, all of a sudden is going to be more than what you allocated in the first place. And this contingency is not the money that we are using. It is there, it will be released even halfway or even just from the beginning of the project, a part of it can be released. It's not something that holding some budget kind of not letting it be used for other stuff. So based on the design engineer's Class B cost estimate, we expected something, but when we tendered that, we were fortunate enough to have a lower bid. So this is how you see a very generous contingency right now. It was not something that we planned for such a big contingency.
Well, I guess at $857,000, I mean, that brings, if we use the contingency, well over $3 million, which in my opinion is a lot of money to put out there for saying bike lanes. I mean, I don't know how this is going to be put out as far as communications go, but it's, as I say, I think the bike lanes in this point are secondary. The other stuff, I suppose, has to be done, but yeah, I do have concerns about this.
It is, if I may add, we have almost $1.7 million grant from TransLink. So
I understand that.
So it's not that you're paying that much.
Well, thank you.
Councillor Albrecht, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Gill, for bringing this forward. I appreciate that this has been a, let's say, a problem stretch from a cycling perspective for quite some time. It's not a comfortable place to ride. So I think this is long overdue. I had a question about the transitions. South of on 208 Street, we have roadside bicycle lanes, and we're going to off street. So that transition at 52A, as well as at Fraser Highway, and I believe we've got a couple of trail connections on the two on the west side, and then one down near the like you say, the pump station entrance. I believe there's a trail network there as well. So just wanting to make sure that all those will be incorporated in so that it's clear for cyclists to be able to go from on the street to off the street onto this multi-use path and a smooth transition that is going to work and be comfortable for all levels of bicycle riders. And then I had a couple other things.
Sure. As with the transitions from or to MOPS to the separated bike lane that currently we have, on the south side, right before the where the current bus station is, opposite to 52A, we are going to have a ramp that the MOP is going to kind of go down to the street level, and we'll join the with the kind of green painted strip, direct the cyclists to the existing bike lane. On the north side, the separated bike lane, as it approaches the 2 Avenue, it merges toward a sidewalk, again, painted sidewalk. Cross bike, it's going to be the widest crosswalk. We use this one to merge onto the map on the north side of the 2 Avenue. The bus station will move a little bit north of that ramp, so it won't block the ramp. So on the south side route, the MOP is coming, ramp is bringing it down to the street level, and there will be a merging guided strip that shows the cyclist how to merge. So this is it with regards to the your question about the driveways over there. Yeah, they're all actually included in the design. Currently, the sidewalk in here is a little higher than normal. The curb is about 8-inch tall as opposed to usually around 6-inch. So it is already, there's a elevation difference between the sidewalk and the road. And the challenge that we had for the design was the slope of the driveway, which already is steep. But with having the MOP on the other side, we try to make sure that the bike path within the MOP on the outer edge of the MOP, we try to minimize the impact on the cyclist, yet meet the requirement of changing the elevation from 8 inches above the road to the road level. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but if not, please let me know.
Yeah, no, I think you've got it kind of covered off there. A couple other items I had was there not be any restrictions in the turning at 52A, correct?
No, I've not done.
Okay, and we've got a pretty significant slope from the sidewalks right now down into this area that floods predominantly every year. And we're going to be building out into that. So we'll probably be removing some storm drainage or storm capacity or storm retention in those particular areas. So I'm just want to ensure that that's being looked at and making sure that we're not going to be, say, adding to the flooding level in that particular area because we're removing some storage. So
all the actually precautionary measures were taken to make sure that this is not happening. And another reason was just as you kind of touch those areas, again, like I said, the permitting process is going to be more complicated and lengthier. So for these two reasons, we tried not to do anything or modify anything over there.
Okay, that sounds great. And just one other thing, I wasn't really clear. We said we're adding trees, which is a great thing. Is that just on the outside edges, outside the MUP, or are we going to be adding some trees into the median area?
Correct. That's correct. It is outside, and we hired a kind of environmentalist to look into that and propose how it should be, and the design is based on their recommendations, except for a very small area that this project will kind of disturb the environment, which, like I said, we expect some requirements for compensation, which is very small, but yet it is there. Everything was designed in a way that won't cause any problems.
Okay, so yeah, if we can get any trees added, that's a huge benefit in my opinion. And I don't know if I heard correctly. Will there be trees added in the center median? Yes?
Median, no, not.
Okay. Is there a chance that we can get some incorporated somewhere along there?
In median, usually the standard is when you have a much wider, around 4+ meters, you put trees here. You're talking about 2 meters or less the median with all these, the curb, everything is 2.5. So it is not as wide. So for that reason, we didn't put anything.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts were that if we could look into it, or if you could have your team look into it, I think it would be a worthwhile exercise. This is kind of a gateway into our South region. We've got a nice planting stretch on 208 right now. And whether it's trees or some more of a native species that we can have in that area, I think is worthwhile. But I'll leave it up to the professionals to make sure that it's going to be working. But I just wanted to put that out there, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Great, thanks. All right, any more questions for Mr. Gill? Okay, seeing none, motion forward is number 1, that council award tender T 2021-017 208 street cycling improvements to 64423 BC LTE based on the tendered amount of $1,265,259.18 excluding GST. And 2, that council authorizes the manager of engineering services and the corporate officer to execute the contract document for tender T 2021-017 208 street cycling improvements to 644-230 BC Limited. Need a mover and a Councillor Albrecht, Councillor Hall. Any further discussion, folks? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor, any opposed? And that carries. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Gill. Okay, so on to motion to hold a closed meeting, August 16th closed meeting, that the council meeting immediately following this meeting be closed to the public as the subject matter being considered relates to items which comply with the following closed meeting criteria specified in section 90 of the community charter. 1, a part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one or more of the following: C, labor relations or other employee relations. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Wallace, Councillor James, all those in favor? And that carries. Motion that the meeting adjourn. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Bahal, Councillor Storteboom, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. So I'm now going to end this meeting, and we will use the other Zoom link that was provided to us.